Colorado's Deion Sanders phoned recruits during visits amid summer-long health absence. The Colorado Buffaloes are entering their first season without Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter since Deion Sanders took over as head coach. With that shift, there's a growing sense that Sanders' time at Colorado could be limited. Let's say the quiet part out loud. 92.5 Altitude radio co-host Alex Rajanimi said, Deion's time here at Colorado is very, very numbered unless you find a way to compete with $25 million to $30 million freshman classes, unless you find a way to put a true cap system in or go to collective bargaining. Adding to the uncertainty, Sanders has been mostly absent from the program this summer due to ongoing health concerns. Until recently, those issues have kept him away from both the team and the recruiting trail. At Big 12 Media Days, Sanders was asked about his health, an inevitable question considering his extended absence. He addressed it with a short, deflective response. I'm really not going to tell you much. I'm not going to talk about my health, he said. I'm living good. I'm living lovely. Not a care in the world. Summer is a crucial time for college coaches to recruit high school talent, and although Sanders wasn't present in person, he remained engaged with recruits during their visits. I got on the phone with him when I went over there for my visit, said Rodney Colton Jr. I was on the phone with him, July 12th, too. He was just like, we don't recruit guys who don't want to get in here and play. Despite his absence and the growing scrutiny surrounding his tenure, it's clear Sanders has remained invested. While concerns about his health persist, he's continued to find ways to connect with players and help improve the program accordingly. The air in Boulder was heavy that summer, not with heat, but with uncertainty. Coach Deion Sanders, the heart and soul of Colorado football, had been absent for weeks. Surgeries on his legs had taken him off the field, off the sidelines, and out of the spotlight. Rumors swirled. Some said he'd be out for months. Others whispered he might step away completely. But inside the Buffalo's football facility, one thing never changed. The phone rang. It started during a high-profile visit weekend in June. Top recruits were in the building, 4 stars, 5 stars, the kind of talent that could flip a program. Coaches gave their pitches, players toured the weight room, and everyone tried to mask the elephant in the room. Prime wasn't there. Then Coach O, the recruiting coordinator, waved a receiver over to his office. Someone wants to speak to you. The kid raised an eyebrow. Who? Coach O just handed him the phone. Hello. There was a pause. Then, what's up, baby? You know who this is. The recruit's eyes widened. Coach Prime. A grin spread across his face like a sunrise. Other players peeked in, whispering. The legend wasn't in the building, but he was on the line, loud, charismatic, and full of fire. I heard you ran a 4.4, Prime said. That true? Yes, sir. Well, I like that. I like speed. But I love character more. Tell me, what kind of man you want to be off the field? It wasn't a speech. It wasn't a sell. It was a connection. And that's what changed everything. By July, the phone calls had become part of the visit routine. A player would finish his tour, and just before he left, someone would hand him a phone. Sometimes it was a FaceTime. Sometimes just a voice. Always Deion. Sometimes he called from a hospital bed, bandaged and resting but never dull. Sometimes from his recovery room, for line in one arm, playbook in the other. They say I'm down, but I ain't out, he told one offensive lineman. They fixin' my body, but my vision? My vision's been clear since day one. One night, he called 2 recruits at once, twins from Texas. Their mom answered first. Deion spoke to her for 15 minutes before even talking football. When he finally got to the twins, he said, You ball out, you play for me. But you come to Boulder, you become family. That's real. The next day, they committed. News of the calls leaked eventually. A reporter caught wind of it and asked Coach Lewis about it at a media day. Yeah, he said, smiling. Coach Prime isn't here in person, but he's still here. He's in the film room via Zoom. He's texting recruits at 2 a.m. He's calling moms, dads, even little brothers. He's leading through pain. That's Prime. And while other programs posted flashy visit videos and highlight edits, Colorado's players were getting something different. The voice of a man who refused to quit. Behind the scenes, Deion's staff worried. Would the recruits get turned off by his absence? Would parents see him as too wounded to lead? But it was the opposite. Each phone call became a badge of honor. Each FaceTime, a moment the kids would remember forever. One defensive back from Georgia said, I talked to Alabama. I talked to Georgia. But Prime called me when he was in the hospital. That's different. One lineman said. I'm going to block for a coach who fought to talk to me when he couldn't even walk. One mom said. He spoke to me like I was his sister. That ain't coaching. That's ministry. By August, Dion was seen walking again, slowly, carefully, with help. But when he returned to the facility, he didn't make a big entrance. He walked into the locker room, gave his players a nod, and said, Y'all held it down. But I never left. The players erupted. Later, at a team meeting, he addressed the room. Doctor said sit still. I said I can't. My players out here grindin'. My recruits making life decisions, and I'm supposed to rest. He paused, scanning the room. I might have been down, but I stayed connected. Because leadership ain't just about being seen. It's about being felt. One player whispered under his breath. Goosebumps. When the season kicked off, Colorado's roster looked different. More talent. More heart. More buy-in. And almost every recruit interviewed during media days said the same thing when asked why they chose Colorado. Coach Prime called me.